Hey guys, Nabil here. Hope you're doing great. Today's video is there's really nothing like no news to share or nothing major to talk about, but it's a very special day. Today is July 1st, right? And no, I'm not just celebrating it because my birthday is in 10 days, July 11th. Don't forget that. But because in today marks the 29th anniversary of the launch of the NeoGeo AES. Now, hold on a second. I know what you're gonna say. We talked about the NeoGeo celebrating a couple months ago its 30th anniversary. So how come we're talking about AES today? Well, because when the NeoGeo was released, it was released in two versions. There was the NeoGeo MVS, which is the arcade version, and the NeoGeo AES, and it was not supposed to be sold to individuals. It was actually a rental system where people could rent and play the games they love and they see at the arcades. However, because of popular demand, they decided to go ahead and offer it to everybody to purchase. Now, there's actually a big, asterisk on that everybody, because when the system launched, as you probably know, it was very expensive, and we're talking 1991 when we had the NES and we had the beginning of the Super Nintendo, I believe, at the time. Yes. So, and you compared those systems to the Neo Geo, which actually launched in Japan for about $600, right? So it's actually about $550 if I remember correctly. So that was wow. When the games were actually priced between $200 and $300 a game. Now, it was crazy, and I remember back at the time. So I was nine years old. So I was just getting my. I think I didn't have a Super Nintendo then. I had the NES, and I saw those Neo Geo games in the arcades, and I always wanted to have that console, but I didn't even know the price. It wasn't even available in Morocco. The AES, I've never seen it being sold at stores where you could, buy a video game system. When it released in the US, it was a different story. They actually released it for $650, and it came out with Magician Lord and an arcade stick. Which was, again, if you're looking at, with inflation, if it was released today, it would be around $1,200 to $1,300. So that's a huge price. But when you think about it, when you go to the arcades and you spend, let's say you go and play Fall of Fury 2, you're gonna be spending a lot of money on that game. So if you think about it, it kind of makes sense to have those games at home for that price, because again, you're talking about premium games at the time. You couldn't have those games in any other system. Yes, there were ports for Samurai Shodown, Fall of Fury, not King of Fighters though, on the other 16-bit consoles, but of course it looked nothing like the original hardware. And I didn't know about the crazy prices of Neo Geo until I grew up a little bit. I think it would be around 94, 95 when I actually started realizing, okay, this system is crazy expensive. This is not a typo in the magazines. Remember, we didn't have internet, we didn't have anything like what we have today, so we relied on word of mouth or some magazines. We had some French magazines here with the Joypad, the Console Plus, and I would see Player One. I remember seeing ads on Player One and seeing those prices and converting them to my local currency, and I'm like, there's no way this is this expensive, but it was. And people believe that this is not gonna work, but it actually did. It was targeting that niche market, and it did work. Not only that, but you probably noticed in the US they had a very I would say mature advertising campaign. You've probably seen those ads, like the one that says you need a pair of these to be able to play one of these, so like, and showing balls of steel, so you need balls of steel to be able to play those games. Or you're winning if you're playing like the other system, like Sony and the Nintendo and Sega, and like that other one showing that lady, like in her night garment, saying, hey, he couldn't get his hand off me, now he can't get his hand off the game. It was really controversial when it came out, obviously, but it did actually help people look at the Neo Geo, and it was targeting at $650 at the time. It was not targeting the 10 and 11 years old. It was targeting adults who are into video games. And look at the Neo Geo now. Look at it, 30 years later, that system is still as awesome as it once was. There's still a market for it. The carts, the games are now, some of them are in the thousands of dollars, which brings me to my next point. I probably know this, but I didn't get a NeoGeo until last year. So I always wanted to get one, but it didn't happen until last year. I finally have a NeoGeo, and I was lucky enough to get the Darksoft multi-card, so I have all the NeoGeo library, and I'm also buying, as much as I can, some of the original cards. I'm trying to get all the King of Fighters games. But again, look at the market. It's actually really, I think it's a missed opportunity. I don't know from a technical perspective, but there's a lot of us, a lot of people who would love, who can go and buy NeoGeo AES. The console itself, you could get it right now for between $300 and $400, which is not a bad price for such an awesome, collector's type of console. But the games are the problems, like you have some games are ranging in the like 50, 60, like King of Fighters 94, Fatal Fury Special, Out of Fighting 1. But the majority of games, you're looking at, 200, 300, 400,000, 1,500, 3,000, even $7,000 games. So I think it would be really great if SNK decided to actually re-release these cards. Because a lot of us would love to actually buy as many of the NeoGeo games as possible in the original hardware format, that it was once released. And I think if SNK went for that, it's gonna work. It's really gonna work. A lot of people are asking about this. Imagine you could buy Garu Mark of the World for, I don't know, 70, 80, 100 bucks. People will go for it, so hopefully SNK will one day realize that there is a market for this, and they can actually make some extra cash on selling those old games on, brand new packages and on new cards. But yeah, so just wanted to talk about my experience with the NeoGeo. So it was always a console I wanted to have, always dreamed of having one. Finally, I was able to get one after, almost 30 years, so 29 years actually from the release, or 28 years from the release of the AES. And I couldn't be happier. It's really a great system. If you could get, you could find one, just go for it. Even though you can't get all the games, you could get some of the multi-cards. They're a bit expensive, but it's worth it because you have the entire NeoGeo library. And I was, you probably saw my other video about the NeoGeo Pro hack, and I have all the library on that one. And I hooked it to my TV and I played a little bit. Then I hooked my NeoGeo and played those games, and there's a difference, man. I know there's not, it's really nitpicking, but there is a difference between playing on the original hardware and playing, an emulated game. There is that, even the slowdowns are different at different times, and it's just, there's this little details. It's not, it's by no means you're playing a different type of game. It's just that those little details really matter to someone who loves these, these consoles. So yeah, that's all what I wanted to talk about. So please go into the comment section. Let me know what you experienced in your story with the NeoGeo AES. Let's celebrate this awesome console, and let's hope SNK realizes that there's a market for re-releasing these games on the AES, and even re-releasing an AES. A lot of people are asking about an AES Mini. We got the NeoGeo Pro, we got the NeoGeo Mini. So there's still a market for this console 30 years later after it was released. So that's all I want to say. Let's see what you guys talk about in the comments, and let's discuss this awesome system. I hope you guys enjoyed this video from NeoGeo Now. Now don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not done so. And I would like to take this opportunity and thank my patrons for supporting the channel and making this content possible. Making daily videos, and especially the documentaries and lore episodes, takes a very long time and a lot of effort, and being able to get some support for these time-consuming tasks allow me to keep going and strive for more and better content. With that said, I want to give a big special shout out to Michael, and special thanks to Shaka Asamiya, Heinz Green 3, Refugio Robles, and Felipe Guiomara. Those of you who are not yet NeoGeo Now patrons, I hope you will check my Patreon page where you can become patrons, helping the channel produce more videos, as well as receive special perks that are exclusive to patrons, like early access to videos, exclusive making-offs, and other SNK digital goodies. Link for the NeoGeo Patreon page is in the description below. So until next time, thank you for watching.